Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something pretty fascinating today. We're going to be looking at holistic practices and how they can help us live simpler, more fulfilling lives.
Okay.
And the coolest part, the source material we're using blends ancient wisdom with modern research, which I think is so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking incredible stories and practical tips all rolled into one. We're going to uncover how chanting literally transformed, get this, a robber into a revered sage. And then get this, we're going to discover how princes learned statecraft, like how to rule, from animal fables.
Wow.
I know, right? Intrigued. I know I am. Let's dive in.
You know, one thing that I find really interesting is the emphasis our source places on energies, energy surrounding us. It's not just about like our physical environment, but those subtler aspects too, like the thoughts we have, the emotions we harbor, all of those things contribute to our well-being and how we experience life.
It's like our inner world shapes our outer reality.
Right.
And speaking of inner obstacles, the text dives into things like past karmas and like the allure of sensory pleasure.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what's your take on these as roadblocks to inner transformation?
Well, that concept of past karmas, it suggests that our past actions, they can actually create patterns in our present lives. It's not about feeling trapped by the past, but understanding how it might be influencing our current challenges.
Right.
Now, as for sensory pleasures, I think of it as a reminder to find balance, Enjoying life's pleasures is fine, but when we become overly attached to those things, it can distract us from our inner growth.
It makes you think about how those late-night Netflix binges might be impacting more than just our sleep schedules.
For sure.
But seriously, it's about finding that healthy equilibrium.
Absolutely.
Now, the text also mentions these panch kalesh, or 5 primary obstacles.
Right.
I have to admit, I'm not familiar with this concept at all. Can you kind of shed some light on these for our listeners, honestly, for me?
Absolutely. The panch kalesh are basically 5 hurdles that can hinder our inner peace.
Okay.
They're ignorance, egoism, attachment, aversion, and clinging to our physical existence.
Okay.
Each of these presents a unique challenge.
Right.
For example, ignorance refers to a lack of understanding of our true nature and the nature of reality.
Got it.
Egoism is that tendency to identify with our limited selves, which creates separation and conflict.
Okay.
Attachment is clinging to, things, people, or ideas, even when they cause us suffering. Aversion is the opposite, pushing away things that we find unpleasant, even if they're ultimately beneficial for us.
Interesting.
And finally, clinging to our physical existence, that kind of limits us to a material perspective, and we neglect our spiritual dimension.
Wow, that is so insightful.
Yeah.
It seems like we all grapple with these obstacles in different ways.
For sure.
It's a reminder that inner transformation is like an ongoing journey, not a destination. So we've got this clear picture of the problem now, right? These inner and outer obstacles that are kind of standing in our way. But what are the solutions? The text offers a whole toolkit of practices. Some are expected, and some are actually quite surprising.
It's true. You're right. It's not just about theory, but it's practical steps that we can take.
Yeah.
So some of these things are pretty familiar, like meditation, yoga, and maintaining a balanced diet, right?
Yeah.
These practices help us to cultivate calmness, physical well-being, and just mindful awareness in general.
Makes sense.
But the text goes further, recommending time in nature, chanting mantras, and even limiting social interactions, which...
I was surprised by that.
Right. It might seem a little bit counterintuitive, especially in our hyper-connected world.
Right. We're constantly being told to network and build relationships.
Exactly.
So the idea of limiting social interaction for spiritual growth is a huge shift in perspective for me.
It is. The idea is that constant external stimulation can distract us from our inner journey.
Oh, okay.
It's not about becoming a hermit or anything, but finding a balance that allows for introspection and deeper connection with ourselves.
I like that word.
Creating space for silence and stillness can be incredibly powerful for inner transformation.
I think that's so true.
Yeah.
It's about being mindful of the energy we're taking in and choosing to focus on what truly nourishes us.
Exactly.
And what's really fascinating is that the text doesn't just present these practices in isolation.
Right.
It weaves ancient stories and modern research together to really illustrate their effectiveness.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this deep dive so unique, I think. Bridging the gap between ancient wisdom and contemporary scientific understanding?
Yeah, let's delve into some of those examples. One that really stands out is the story of Vishnu Sharma and the three princes.
Okay.
So Vishnu Sharma was this wise scholar who was entrusted with educating the king's sons, who, as the story goes, were quite a handful.
So classic case of unruly teenagers.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So instead of resorting to those dry lectures,
Yeah.
Vishnu Sharma took a more creative approach.
I like it.
He decided to impart wisdom through fables,
Oh, cool.
stories with animals as the main characters.
Okay.
And these fables, collected in the Panchatantra,
Uh-huh.
are still cherished today.
Oh.
Titles like The Lion and the Rabbit
Okay.
or The Crow and the Pitcher, they might sound simple,
Yeah.
but they're actually brimming with timeless wisdom about things like mindfulness, problem solving, self-acceptance,
Wow.
and balanced living.
That's really cool. I love how these fables, they make those profound lessons accessible, and engaging.
Absolutely.
It reminds us that learning can be enjoyable
For sure.
and that wisdom can be found in unexpected places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vishnu Sharma, he didn't stop at just storytelling.
Right.
He immersed the princes in a holistic learning environment.
Exactly. He took them to live in the forest,
Wow.
surrounding them with nature's tranquility.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't just about intellectual knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
but cultivating their character through direct experience.
Right?
It was a brilliant way to integrate these teachings into their daily lives.
It's such a powerful example of how environment can really shape our growth.
It is.
But the big question is, did this approach work? Did the princes genuinely transform? Because ultimately, that's what we want to know. Can these practices lead to, lasting change?
That's the heart of it, isn't it? And according to the text, the transformation was remarkable.
Really?
The princes went from being apathetic and undisciplined to wise, capable, and compassionate leaders.
Oh, that's great.
Their characters blossomed under Vishnu Sharma's guidance.
That's amazing.
It's a testament to the power of holistic education and how it can nurture not just knowledge,
Right.
but wisdom and virtue as well.
That's so inspiring. It makes me think that we all have that potential for growth
We do.
and positive change within us.
Absolutely.
But we've talked a lot about ancient wisdom.
Yeah.
What about modern research? Does science back up what the text is saying about these practices?
It absolutely does.
Okay, good.
The source, it thoughtfully cites a range of studies to support its claims. For instance, there's a Harvard study on meditation's benefits for emotional regulation and stress reduction.
Oh, interesting.
And research from Stanford highlights the profound impact of self-acceptance
Oh, wow.
on psychological well-being and resilience.
Wow, so it's really exciting to see ancient wisdom being validated by modern scientific inquiry.
It really is.
It's like these practices, they've stood the test of time.
Yeah.
And now we're gaining a deeper understanding of why they work on a physiological and psychological level.
Yeah,
That's what makes this deep dive so compelling.
I agree.
It's this beautiful synergy of ancient and modern perspectives.
And speaking of powerful transformations,
Yeah.
the text also shares the incredible story of Ratnakar, a robber who becomes Sage Valmiki.
Oh, wow.
This one is truly captivating.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me about Ratnakar.
Ratnakar was a notorious bandit,
Okay.
feared for his ruthlessness.
Oh, wow.
Yet beneath the surface, he felt this deep emptiness, a yearning for something more.
Interesting.
And one fateful day, he encounters the sage Narada,
Okay.
who challenges him about his actions.
So wait, even a hardened criminal can experience a spiritual awakening?
That's right.
That's like a powerful message of hope.
It is. It underscores that change is possible for anyone, regardless of their past.
Wow.
So Narada asked Ratnakar, he said, would your family share the burden of your sins?
Oh, wow.
But when Ratnakar posed this question to his loved ones, they refused.
Oh, no.
They asserted that he alone was responsible for his actions.
Wow.
And that realization shattered Ratnakar's world, It kind of opened him up to the possibility of a new path. Narada then offered Ratnakar a simple yet profound practice to kind of help him shift his course.
I'm really curious to hear what this practice was. What could possibly lead a hardened criminal towards a path of, transformation?
Well, Narada instructed Ratnakar to chant the name of Lord Rama continuously, and to accompany this chanting with deep meditation. And at first, Ratnakar really struggled, Years of ingrained habits and negative thought patterns, those things don't just disappear overnight.
Right.
But his determination, it was unwavering. He chanted and he meditated for years.
Right.
And through this dedicated practice, a remarkable transformation began to unfold.
So this must have been more than just like behavioral change, right?
Yeah.
What did this like inner transformation look like for Ratnakar?
You're absolutely right. It wasn't just about giving up robbery. It was a profound shift in his heart and mind. As he immersed himself in the practice, the text describes how the forest literally grew around him,
Nice.
eventually enveloping him in an anthill.
Wow.
And this is actually where he acquired the name Valmiki.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
But the real transformation was internal, you know?
Yeah.
He recognized the harm he had caused.
Yeah.
He deeply regretted his past actions. And he dedicated his life to, like, spiritual pursuits and the pursuit of knowledge.
So he turned his life around completely.
He did. In fact, he went on to compose the Ramayana,
Oh, wow.
one of the most revered epic poems in Hindu literature.
That's incredible. It's such a testament to the power of dedicated practice.
It is.
His story makes me think about how, we all have the potential for profound change within us, right?
We do.
But it also raises a question for me. Not everyone could just retreat to a forest and chant for years.
Right?
So how do we know which practices are right for us in our modern lives?
That's where discernment comes in.
Okay.
It's about finding what resonates with you personally.
Okay.
What calls to you from these stories.
Yeah.
What feels like a step you can take today, even a small one,
Right.
The text emphasizes that transformation begins within, and that these practices are tools to support us on that journey.
Tools for our toolbox.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not about a one-size-fits-all approach,
Yeah,
but discovering what nourishes your unique path.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if we were to distill these stories down to their essence, what key takeaways would you highlight for our listener?
Yeah.
What's at the heart of this deep dive?
For me, it's that profound message that true transformation, it starts within. It's about cultivating self-awareness,
Yeah.
embracing our wholeness, and finding that alignment between our mind, body, and spirit.
Okay.
And it's not just about personal growth either. It
Right.
kind of ripples outwards,
Yeah.
impacting how we interact with the world and contribute to a more peaceful and compassionate society.
Beautifully put.
Thank you.
It's a reminder that we're all interconnected,
Yeah.
and that our inner work can have a positive impact on the world around us. And as you said, it's an ongoing process, a lifelong journey of learning, growing, and evolving.
Exactly. It's about embracing the journey and remembering that the tools and wisdom, they are available to us. We have the ancient traditions, we have the modern scientific findings,
Yeah.
we have a wealth of practices that have stood the test of time.
We do.
It's up to each of us to take what resonates and weave it into the tapestry of our lives.
I love that. It's so empowering. It shifts the perspective from feeling like, we're at the mercy of circumstances to realizing that we have agency in shaping our lives and our destinies.
Right.
This deep dive has given me so much to reflect on.
Yeah.
And one concept that keeps coming back to me is the idea of balance. The text talks about a balanced diet, a balanced lifestyle,
Yeah.
even a balanced approach to social interactions.
Right.
So it seems like finding that sweet spot is crucial to this whole process.
Balance is essential, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about finding that equilibrium between effort and ease, engagement with the world and nurturing our inner space.
Yeah.
It's about tuning into our body's needs, our mind's needs, and our spirit's needs, and finding a harmonious rhythm that supports our overall well-being.
It makes me think about the practice of finding your center in yoga. It's not about being rigidly still, but cultivating an inner stability.
Right.
So that when life throws its inevitable curveballs, we can stay grounded.
Yes.
And navigate those challenges with more grace and resilience.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And it ties back to what we were discussing earlier about the Panch Kalesh. Finding balance helps us to navigate those obstacles.
Right.
For example, when we cultivate a sense of inner stability, we're less likely to be swept away by, our attachments or our aversions.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not about eliminating those challenges entirely, but learning to work with them skillfully.
Exactly.
And it's not about being perfect,
Right.
but embracing progress over perfection.
Yep. Yes.
It's about those consistent small efforts that over time create a ripple effect of positive change.
Precisely. And remember, this journey, it's about self-discovery and compassion. It's not about beating ourselves up for our imperfections, but approaching ourselves with kindness and understanding as we learn and grow.
That's such a good point. You know, as we've been discussing these practices, I've been reflecting on a quote from the text that really struck a chord with me.
Okay.
It says, "Everything shines after he, the shining self. By his light, all this is illumined." It's just such a beautiful and evocative image, you know.
It is. It speaks to the idea that our true nature is inherently radiant, luminous. And when we connect with that inner light, it just naturally illuminates everything around us.
It makes me think of those spiritual teachers, you know, who seem to radiate peace and joy wherever they go. It's like their inner transformation has become so potent that it just overflows into the world, touching and inspiring everyone they encounter.
It's incredibly inspiring, isn't it? It shows us what's possible when we dedicate ourselves to, our inner growth and transformation.
This whole deep dive has been so thought-provoking.
It has.
It's not just about accumulating information, but about sparking real transformation. It's about taking these stories, these practices, these insights, and weaving them into the fabric of our lives.
It's about remembering that we're not just like passive recipients of life, but active creators. We have the power to choose our thoughts, our actions, our responses. And in doing so, we shape our own reality.
And speaking of shaping our reality, the text ends with this incredibly thought-provoking quote from the Katha Upanishad.
It
says, "Everything shines after he, the shining self. By his light, all this is illumined. Lead me, great one, to that light, to that eternal boundless light."
That's a beautiful quote to end on.
Isn't it?
It speaks to the idea that there's this source of light, of wisdom, of truth within each of us. And when we connect with that source, it illuminates our entire path.
Like a reminder that even when things feel dark or uncertain, there's always a light within us that can guide us through.
It's a call to action too, isn't it? Lead me, great one, to that light. It's like an invitation to actively seek out that inner wisdom. To cultivate those practices that help us connect with our true nature.
So powerful.
And
on that note, we'll leave you with that question to ponder. What practices help you connect with that inner light? What steps can you take, even small ones, to cultivate more peace, joy, and fulfillment in your life?
And remember, you don't have to do this alone. There are countless resources available, books, teachers, communities, to support you on your journey.
That's so true.
We've included some links in the show notes to help you get started.
Perfect. And if this deep dive has sparked something in you, if it's made you curious to explore these ideas further, we encourage you to reach out.
Absolutely.
We love hearing from our listeners. And we're always happy to connect.
It's been a joy diving into this material with you.
I agree.
Always inspiring to explore these ancient wisdom teachings and see how relevant they still are in our modern world.
I completely agree. You know, one thing I'm going to take away from this is that reminder about the power of stories. Maybe I'll dust off my copy of the Panchatantra and see what wisdom those animal fables hold for me today.
That's a great idea.
Who knows, maybe I'll just discover my own inner sage along the way.
You never know.
We can all dream, right? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep shining your light.
You know, one thing that really struck me was the text's emphasis on the power of stories. Both Vishnu Sharma and Valmiki use narratives to convey profound truths, to inspire transformation. It's a reminder that stories have this unique ability to, touch our hearts, awaken our minds, and guide us on our journeys.
That's so true. It makes me think about how we're, wired for stories, They help us make sense of the world, connect with others, and find meaning in our own lives.
And even more importantly, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what's possible, what we deserve. Those stories shape our reality.
That's a really powerful point. It suggests that part of this holistic journey is becoming aware of the stories we're telling ourselves, right? And then choosing to rewrite them if they're no longer serving us.
Absolutely.
We have the power to create new narratives that empower us and support our growth.
Absolutely.
So
we have the power to choose the stories we live by. And when we choose stories of hope, resilience, and transformation, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities.
This deep dive has been incredibly rich and insightful.
It has.
It's not just about accumulating information, but sparking real transformation in our lives.
Right.
It's about taking these stories, these practices, these insights, and weaving them into the fabric of our lives, you know?
Yeah, it's about remembering that we're not just passive recipients of life.
Yeah.
We're active creators.
Yes.
We have the power to choose our thoughts, our actions, our responses, and in doing so, we shape our own reality.
And speaking of shaping our reality, the text ends with this incredibly thought-provoking quote from the Katha Upanishad.
Okay.
It says, "Everything shines after he, the shining self. By his light, all this is illumined. Lead me, great one, to that light, to that eternal, boundless light."
That's a beautiful quote to end on.
I know, right?
It speaks to the idea that there's a source of light within each of us, of wisdom, of truth.
Yeah.
And when we connect with that source, it illuminates our entire path.
It's like a reminder that even when things feel dark or uncertain, there's always a light within us that can guide us through.
And it's a call to action too, isn't it? Lead me, great one, to that light.
Yeah.
It's an invitation to actively seek out that inner wisdom, to cultivate those practices that help us connect with our true nature.
So powerful.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll leave you with that question to ponder.
Okay.
What practices help you connect with that inner light? What steps can you take, even small ones, to cultivate more peace, joy, and fulfillment in your life?
And remember, you don't have to do this alone. There are countless resources available, you know?
Right.
Books, teachers, communities to support you on your journey.
That's a good point.
We've included some links in the show notes to help you get started.
Awesome. And if this deep dive has sparked something in you, if it's made you curious to explore these ideas further, we encourage you to reach out.
Yes.
We love hearing from our listeners, and we're always happy to connect.
Absolutely. It's been a joy diving into this material with you.
Likewise.
Always inspiring to explore these ancient wisdom teachings and see how relevant they still are in our modern world.
I completely agree. One thing I'm going to take away from this is that reminder about the power of stories. Maybe I'll dust off my copy of the Panchatantra and see what wisdom those animal fables hold for me today.
That's a great idea.
Who knows? Maybe I'll just discover my own inner sage along the way.
You never know.
Huh? We can all dream, right?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep shining your light.